name's Solomon Kleinsmith.
Hi, my name is Jessica Eyes. As the Democratic Convention stirred to life, we took a detour to see the protests and to find out why people were marching.
The Democratic nominee of the Democratic Party, speaking at Bank of America Stadium.
Well, speaking of Barack Obama, are you a supporter? Or
I never have been, I never was. I have voted the last 2 elections for the Green Party candidate.
It wasn't really part of today's protest. Now, CMPD estimated less than expected out here. They say about 700 people showed up, not thousands as promised. We did see a large group of people with the March on Wall Street South. The group stopped at Bank of America and Duke Energy buildings. Reporting in Charlotte at Keane.
Well, our project is focusing on money and politics. Did you get very many people to tell you or to mention money and politics when they were talking to you?
Oh, of course. That's one of the big things, because they still can't find a job because they've been laid off or they lost their house even though they were trying to make their mortgage payment. So a lot of people still angry with what's going on, and this was their platform to talk about it.
People are still suffering, but big banks and financial institutions, protesters call them banksters, are doing fine. The New York Times describes a Justice Department technique that's been applied to Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, among others, called deferred prosecution. Companies are now frequently offered so-called deferred prosecution agreements, in which they pay a fine and agree to government oversight, instead of facing criminal prosecution.
I gotta be honest, it's kind of a tough year and a half. In 2010, a lot of us paid the price for basically Republican policies.
We asked former Senator Russ Feingold what he thought about prosecuting financial wrongdoing.
Obviously, McCain-Feingold, you're the Feingold.
I am, still. Yeah.
Still the Feingold. The biggest landmark, campaign finance legislation in a very long time. So do you think that the influence, the pressure from money in politics has led to the banks being able to grow too big to fail and not getting prosecutions?
Yeah, actually this whole thing started back in the state legislature. We used to have state laws prohibiting buying banks within your state, called interstate banking laws. That was the first thing they did, and they had like a 30-year plan to get rid of all the laws, to buy off the legislators at the state level and the federal level. So now you have this combination of no regulation and huge unlimited contributions, sometimes secret contribution. So it's a real racket that protects people both from reform and also from prosecution.
What do you think can be done to sort of nibble away at the edges of Citizens United, and what do you think the long game is as far as overturning Citizens United?
Well, that's a good way to ask it, because first of all, the main thing is to overturn the decision. If we re-elect Barack Obama, he gets a choice or two in the Supreme Court. I think the case will be overturned, but that'll take a few years. In the meantime, passing disclosure laws to require disclosure of all contributions at the federal and state level, public financing for campaigns, and also new laws to tighten up this phony deal where they say a super PAC is really independent. We know it's not independent. And so we can make the law tougher in that regard. So I think that's a good agenda to help us on the path to reform.
On the one hand, it's Obama's Justice Department letting the banksters off the hook. On the other hand, here are the top 5 Obama campaign contributors. And here are the top 5 Romney campaign contributors.